Hello world, this is Ezamai Abi and thank you again for joining us on Foshty. Today I am meeting with Ral Obioha and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Ral Obioha. I'm an immigration attorney based primarily out of Houston, Texas.
Okay, and Ral is short for?
Raluchukwu.
Okay, which is, I think is a beautiful name. Like, I think the first time I heard it I was like, wow, is that a girl or boy? But then Raluchukwu sounds, yeah, it's really cool. What does Raluchukwu mean?
Do everything to God.
Okay, pretty awesome. So I usually start my episodes with the question about home, right? Where do you call
home? I actually call home in Enugu, Nigeria. Even though my parents are from there, but that's where I grew up. I think essentially spent a lot of my formative years, and then that's where I went to high school. So home I think is Enugu.
Really?
Yeah.
When was the last time you went there?
Last year,
December
2018.
2018, so 2 years ago. Okay.
Yes.
And you went back to Enugu, not just Nigeria. You actually went back to Enugu.
I went back to Enugu.
Okay.
And I went to Lagos and then to Abuja.
So who is in Enugu? Are your parents still there?
No, my parents are late, unfortunately.
Okay.
But our family home is in Enugu.
Okay.
My mom's NGO, which I now run, is in Enugu as well.
Okay.
So that's home.
Okay, so that's interesting. So both parents are not here, but the house they built, you guys still go back. You and your siblings still go back.
Definitely.
Right, because that is an interesting thing where a lot of our parents, right, try to build a house in the village. And most of the time, people don't always come back as much as they think people would.
Yeah.
So you and your family intentionally still go back there.
Right.
Do your other siblings, they live in Nigeria or here?
No, all my siblings are now here.
Okay.
But so my mom just passed as recently as December 2017. So it's still pretty fresh.
Mm-hmm.
So our home is where we grew up in Enugu, but we still have a house in the village, which is Ajali, Anambra State.
Okay.
And the house in the village, nobody's there.
Okay, so it's the state. Okay.
So that was what you're saying. But the house in Enugu, is there because I don't think any of us ever really touches home without touching Enugu.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. So when did you move to the U.S.?
Well, I was born in D.C.
You were born in D.C.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's even more interesting. So you were born in D.C., but home is in Nigeria.
Right.
Okay, so tell me more about that. You were born in D.C. And then did you move back?
Yeah. So after I got in DC, after a couple of years, I moved back to Nigeria, and that's where we were here every year for almost every year for the summer. But it was mostly we spent most of the time in Enugu.
Okay.
And I didn't officially move back to the U.S. until 2004 for college.
For college.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So from about 2 years old until college, you were really Nigerian.
Yeah, even though we were visiting, but home was in Nigeria.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you moved here for college, freshman year.
Yeah.
Okay. How was that? Where did you go to school?
Well, I went to, my parents were very, they wanted to go to a private Christian school. So, we went to a private Christian school, Eastern Mennonite University in Virginia.
Okay.
It's a pretty small school. It was mostly Caucasian. Okay. But my parents felt like it would be easier for us. So I'm a little bit different from my siblings. I think before me, my first three older siblings, they came here earlier.
Okay.
Then they moved back earlier. Everybody was born here, but they came, the first four were born here. Five out of seven, we're seven of us.
There's seven?
Yeah.
Wow.
So 5 out of 7 were born here.
And what number are you in the placement?
4.
Wow, okay, that's a lot of siblings.
I know.
That's I'm a little envious. I'm the only child,
so
like when you said, I'm like, well, that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, on one hand, it's like, that's a lot of noise.
But now we have all the spouses, and then it's like,
it's like you have 14 plus extra kids. That's really, really interesting. Yeah. And everyone is in the States.
Everyone's in the States. Yeah. So my first 3 siblings, like my first 2 siblings, both born here, but then they moved back, like I think in what you call JS2. In Nigeria.
Just middle school?
Yes,
middle school is tough. No.
So they moved back. Yeah. The third, the one right before me, she was born here too, but then she moved back SS1.
I feel like your parents were experimenting.
I think so. And by the time they got to me, they were like, you're going to finish SS3 in Nigeria.
Right.
And so after me and the rest of us, we all finished SS3 in Nigeria.
Right, which is, okay, so I will kind of ask you about your siblings' experience if you remember, but for you, coming in sort of the first freshman year of college. What was that experience like?
So I was saying earlier, my parents chose the school for us because they felt like it would be an easier transition. It was a smaller school, it was a Christian school, and it was full of a lot of international students. We had students from Congo, South Africa, so it was a lot of African students too.
Right.
So, even though like the big university of this, university of that, they have African students too. My parents kind of felt like they'd be more sheltered in this environment, because they were actually trying to attract more international students. So,
and being a smaller campus too, it's less of an adjustment, less exposure, depending on how you look at it.
Exactly. And then one more thing was my uncles and aunts went there.
Oh,
so
wow.
they had those connections. So
like legacy, history. Okay.
So there it was not bad. It was really good.
Yeah.
I ended up being the Black Student Union president. I ended up leading dance classes.
Dance classes?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll talk a little bit about that. She's a dancer as well.
So we I think I fully by my fourth year I was fully integrated, I think.
Right. So you didn't feel any sort of, I guess sometimes people move over here and there's this sort of culture shock, right?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
So that was like my first year. But so my first year, I think I was trying to figure out how they do things.
Okay.
But things became easy for me academically, because in Nigeria they hold a lot of things. Like you have to memorize everything.
But
here they tell you, okay, here's where we're gonna test you on this page. We're gonna test tomorrow. I'm just like, that's it.
You're given a lot more resources here that you're not forced to really stretch.
And they give you don't have to read the whole book. You just Google it and you're like, oh, that's what's about. Okay, over here.
Like, it's easy.
So academically, I didn't have much issues academically.
Okay.
I think my thing was also interaction with people.
Okay.
So people from different cultures, I just had to adjust to how they thought.
Yeah.
The things that were known to me. I remember one experience, which is so embarrassing to me. I made this my first year. I was trying to make friends. So I met this girl. She's African American, and so I invited her to my room. So like in Nigeria, girls are very close.
Right.
So
the friendships are
very
close.
very tight. And it's not seen as anything.
It's not. It doesn't mean anything if you're holding hands.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
and we used to spend. Like, I remember when I was growing up, my friend and I would just lie down in my bed in my room and just talk all night. Yeah. So I remember I invited her to my room, and she was a little bit hesitant. But then she decided to come, right? So I decided to entertain her. I was sitting next to her, I was showing her my albums from.
Like we're bonding.
But that's what that's what we do in Nigeria. Like, show this is my friend from this is. But I knew that she was bored. So she was after some time she was like, I think I'm gonna go catch lunch. And I was like, so do you want? She's like, no, it's okay. So like, we did it. I was like, later on, I approached her. I'm like, I hope you didn't feel, does that make you feel? She's like, well, it's just I'm not used to that. So I could see like just her and I in the room, just looking through albums, just
your personal life.
Exactly, just like this is
too much. You're being a little too much right now, right?
So, I think that I learned, I had to learn how relationships work, how they thought friendship was supposed to.
And how society functions, really. Because even as you say that, there's this thing of personal space that's very big here, right? And
it's not in Nigeria.
You're like, your friends are your friends. You touch, you're like, you're very interactive.
Right.
And over here, it's like, okay, stop. Just kind of
give me space.
Just kind of give it space. Don't be all in my business like that. I like you, but not like
not
that.
Like that.
right.
So.
It's a little different.
Very
okay,
different.
So you had that sort of social transition period. And you said academically there really wasn't much to. I mean, you were fine. You were able to adjust, and things were fairly easy.
Right.
At what point, though, if there was ever a point when you are here in school and then you realize, like, you know what, this is a totally different world. Like, did you ever feel this is a specific thing? Like, you had to almost shift yourself.
Right.
In a way, to be able to really immerse into the environment you were in.
Definitely. I think even in my first day in class, I'm just seeing the way the professors interacting with the students. It was just like, call me Mary. I'm like, what?
Oh,
the first name basis, like in Nigeria, you're supposed to be Mr. This or Mr. That. My teacher was like, call me Mary. And I was like, okay. So there were just little things that happened here and there that were just so like.
You weren't quite sure how to react or deal with it.
So even the system, like the syllabus, the way that the classes were operating, so it's totally different.
Yeah.
And then also like it wasn't as easy for me. When people came from different high schools, the guys were so used to talk to girls. It was just like, and then also people were pairing up like boyfriend girlfriend. And I'm like, hold up,
like what's happening?
I don't get a class around guys. This is like, you're gonna kill me, like
I don't want to get that close. I want to get to know you guys, but not like that.
So I think that I had those little things socially, and even like with the system, with the school ran, and then I think that other people went along better. And then I was trying to figure out where I fit, because even though I was a US citizen, I didn't know if I really belonged in the international student organization, because I really was an international student.
Right,
I was a US citizen, And then,
but you were coming
when
from
I was coming from,
thing,
you know, so
yeah.
I was trying to figure out where
Yeah.
I fit, whether I was the African Americans or with the Africans, or like, you know, I just, you know, it was. So every weekend I would run home. So my family home was in Maryland, which is like 2 hours away.
So you had that. Yeah.
So I had that. So at least for some time every weekend I would run home.
You would run home.
Right.
So that means there wasn't really a time to feel homesick because your family. Were at that time were your parents here? Or did you still have your sisters?
My parents stayed in Nigeria.
Okay.
So at the time my dad had passed, my mom was still in Nigeria.
Okay.
I was lucky though. My freshman year, my older sister was in her senior year.
Okay.
So I had.
So you had somebody.
I had
present.
yeah.
Someone present to kind of help you adjust or accommodate. That is cool.
Yeah.
So now we're going from that period of your life transitioning to where you are now.
Right.
You mentioned you're an attorney, so you went to law school.
Right.
Was that something you always knew you wanted to do? So there's a running joke that in most Africans or Nigerians specifically, you kind of have a select set of options for your profession. Yeah. You're a doctor, lawyer, engineer, pharmacist, maybe a nurse.
Maybe.
Yeah, accountant maybe.
Yeah.
But then it's like, okay, we'll see. But there are a few things. So did you always, did you have that sort of pressure or guidance where you kind of said, or you were told, or you decided at an early age that this is what you wanted to do, or did you just fall into it? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, so my mom was a retired judge. And I remember I was 5. This is the seminal part of my life. I was 5 years old when she took. I left school early, so the driver brought me to her court.
Okay.
And so.
And where was in Enugu?
No, the court was actually at this point in Anambra State.
Anambra State. Okay.
I'm blank on
okay, but that's no. I just wanted to get a reference point. Yeah, that's fine.
So we so within the so she was sitting, and I just remember. My mom, anybody who knows her, she was very soft spoken in person. Yeah. Very quiet. If you saw her in person, you wouldn't be able to tell she was actually a lawyer. Even a judge. So
interesting.
I remember that was the first time I saw her in her element, her career element. I was in the back of the courtroom and I just saw her walking. Right. And she's a totally different person. Yeah. And so for me, just the way she commanded her presence, it was so different from the mom that I knew at home. So I think at that point it was just attraction for me, realizing that I can be all of that and more. So I could be a lawyer and command authority and still be a nice feminine person, right? So that one was always a role model for me. Okay. So I think at that age I wanted to be a lawyer, and my personality kind of just fit in and just worked out. Yeah. So I didn't take any pictures. I went straight from college to law school.
You just knew that was what you were going to do. Okay. Right. And then law school, and of course now in your career process.
So law school and a master's,
and then here you are working. Right. Okay. So with being a lawyer and sort of trying to establish yourself here, and you mentioned immigration, so it's only natural to kind of transition to, because this is really focused on the immigrant story. Right. What are some of the challenges you see sometimes with people trying to adjust to moving to the U.S.? I said before, we'll say from Nigeria, for instance, because in your case, you see them when there are legal issues, but I'm sure you also get to know these people and get to hear their stories. What would you say are some challenges currently that people don't always think about sometimes?
Well, I think the bills.
Bills?
Yeah. Okay. The amount of bills that you have to pay here, it's totally different. And then also,
and I guess that can be overwhelming because you're going from one or two things to really
like 10. You're required to have insurance. You're required to pay your rent. You're required. It's just like, and
that's interesting.
So I think that's
I've never thought about it. But
I think it's the bills, and also one thing that I noticed from talking to my clients and getting to know them is the system. Yeah. Nigeria, you can walk around almost anything. Yeah. You can walk around it if you and I hate to I don't want to portray Nigeria in a bad light, but the reality is you can probably bribe you out of a lot of things. Yeah. You can call somebody and say this is what I need to get done. Can you get it done for me? But here is like structure. Yeah. And if you're stuck for a ticket, you can't get out of it by paying the club. It just doesn't.
Your money doesn't make that much difference.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I get a lot of times like, oh my goodness, I try to do this and I'm like, you tried it, and then also is this also this mentality of I don't have to do it this way that they ask me to do it because I can always get around it. Yeah. And it always, like especially in the immigration context, it always comes back and
to bite you.
Right. It just doesn't work that way. So I think that's number 2. And number 3 is also working, right? It's also that requirement is that people think that coming to America is this on the streets you pluck the $1
like it's easy,
right?
It's so easy. It's so easy.
But here it's like you actually have to work
hard.
You have to
really
work
hard, right?
So I think those are the biggest things that I've noticed.
You notice. Yeah, that's really interesting because the bills. I always try to explain sometimes when I'm talking to my cousins or something, just the amount of bills you have to deal with. Yeah. And eventually we all get used to it, but when you really put it in context, it's like you're constantly paying somebody else. You're constantly paying something. Like there isn't much of an opportunity to, at home you could buy a house and you're done. You bought your house, great, you own your house. Right. And you don't have to think about it again. For most of us here,
that's something else, right? So you see, and it goes to social media life, right? Yeah. So somebody can have like a Maserati here and post it, and then at home they think the person has all the money in the world, but it's a lease.
Yeah,
you know,
right? They pay monthly, and after a few years they have to give it back.
Exactly. So they don't own it. So a lot of things here, the system is so different, and it gives it. And when they come, they're like, I thought my cousin had a Maserati, and he only cleans houses.
No, that's not what it is.
So that's
and the social media life too. I mean, that's another thing where a lot of times the stories that are presented are not real.
Right. That's a whole new podcast.
Right. No, it's like I remember talking to somebody else, I had another guest, and they were asking, why I wanted to do this, and I remember mentioning that a lot of times people don't have the true context. I mean, that's really it. There could be someone in Nigeria who says, show me the way. I want to come. I will hustle. And I'm like, yeah, it's not really like that. There is, as you mentioned, like you go to school, you do this, and even then there are still more steps and more processes that you have to get through. Right. So not everything you see is what it really is, and our generation sometimes that can be challenging, right? Okay, so I'm going to transition to the personal a little bit.
Okay.
Going from having to, so you have your own practice, right? Let's talk about that a bit. Even just the idea of trying to set up a business in the US.
Okay.
Yes, everyone can be an entrepreneur. Yes, you can choose to do that, but I think sometimes we have been taught, and maybe you can let me know if this applies to you, but we've been taught to study hard, work hard, you get a job, and you do it.
Right.
I don't know if entrepreneurship is really innate to our style.
No.
Okay, so even the thought for you to wake up one day, first of all, I would like you to tell me how. Like, what happened and you say, you know what, I am going to go start my own business.
You can fit it.
But that's the thing, because really, I think, and we can touch on this as well. I think a lot of times we're not really taught the financial management that goes into building your own business and having it grow, the type of responsibility that it takes to really run a business.
Right.
We're really told, study, go to school,
get a job,
do well, get a job.
Right.
That's it. So how did that switch for you? How and why did that switch for you?
Okay, so when I graduated from law school, I did a master's in international law.
Okay.
And after that, I got hired by the firm that I clerked for while I was in law school in DC.
Okay.
It was a smaller firm, but I really loved everybody there. It was really a good experience. There I did immigration, but I did a lot of criminal defense actually, criminal appeal. But I was finding that I was going towards the immigration more, like I was happier when I was doing immigration. So, and I got married in 2015, and so then I moved because my husband is in oil and gas here, so it was easier for us, strategically to be in Houston,
Texas, right?
Right. So I moved here and I got a job with a personal injury firm.
Okay.
It's a very big firm, and it was like this big firm that everybody dreams about, and it was like, wow,
you got the big job.
I got the big job. So, but I was so unhappy. I was really so unhappy. The money they make, the money wasn't compensating for my unhappiness. I would come home every day, and it's sad, and it was affecting my marriage because I guess come home and all I would do is complain for 2 hours instead of
Why were you unhappy?
So that there was a lot of, for me, it's also a shock difference. I came from a firm that was more like family, to a big firm that was all about money,
numbers,
and it was all about like you spend. I mean, I don't want to. When you spend, you said you spend too much time with the client, it's a problem. But for me, it was important that I connect with the client. But then it was a problem. You get what I'm saying? And then there were a lot of. I kind of felt like I would be capped.
Okay. The value wasn't aligned.
The value wasn't aligned. I didn't think that I would grow to my full potential. I didn't feel like I was flourishing. Like when I was in DC, I felt like every day I was doing something new and I was learning something new and I was growing as a person.
You were enhancing your skills.
I even learning as a person. I can't be bored. I'm always looking for something to do, and I'm just like, what's next?
I can feel it.
So at that point, I just felt like I was put in a box. Okay. And I was sitting. I think And I can tell you this story. I think that what was the breaking point for me was, we had this case, and it was one of the biggest cases in the firm, and I was put on it, and then my father-in-law, had some health issues and was in a coma. Okay. So I talked to my boss about it, and he, basically said that I was lucky to be on the case. Because we had to go to Eagle Pass. Eagle Pass is like 6 hours away, where the trial was. Yeah. And I literally, I made my husband, consented to me leaving and doing the trial, and we went to Eagle Pass, and I was there, and eventually the case settled. Okay. But I was so unhappy because my husband was in the hospital, right? Yeah. So then, I came back to this when my father-in-law passed away. I was, happy that at least I made it back. Mm-hmm. But we ended up settling, and I think that part of my motivation to settle the case before we went to trial was so that I can get out of there as soon as possible. Yeah. We settled. Yeah. And I didn't really feel appreciated the way that if I settled that case on my own, I was about 15 houses. Okay. So then I figured I was making money for somebody else. For someone else, right. When I can make money for myself. Yeah. And not only the money aspect, but also the appreciation, the
reward, the intrinsic reward that comes from it.
Right,
too.
Exactly. Right. And the human, I didn't get the fulfillment that I felt like I would have had if it was done with concern for with a human element. Okay. You understand what I'm saying? Gotcha. So I think as soon as that happened, my colleague who I did the case with, he quit. Oh, really? He couldn't. He's from the Philippines. He's an immigrant as well. So he quit and went to work for a smaller firm. Okay. And I started interviewing. Okay. And I was interviewing, but I just felt like every time I got an offer, it felt like I was going to go from frying pan to hot fire.
Like nothing was going to be different.
I was so frustrated. Right. I was so frustrated and fed up and sad, and it was just a lot of emotions. So I just told, and I had this friend actually who kept telling me, I don't know why you're still here. You're not made to work for me. I'm like, but that's what I'm supposed to do, and the money is good, and in 2 weeks. Oh my! And I fought for so long, but I think. Eventually, I just thought I'm going to take the plunge. So I talked to my husband about it, and he said, "Okay, you know what? Let's do it for a year." Yeah. And we'll see.
Were you scared?
Very scared. I was so scared. I was so scared. I didn't know what it was. And then I reached out to Uzo Mokolo, and then so I sat with her and I talked to her, and she's like, "This is how it goes." She was very real with me. This is how So I had to go and think about it. And I remember when I called her and said I quit, she said, "I didn't think you're gonna do it that quick." And I said,
"Like you did it too fast."
Right. So I just couldn't. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna try. And I
figure it out.
And I'll say, I'll figure it out. If after a year it doesn't work out, then I'll find
a job. You can always get a job.
So that's how the firm started in 2016 October.
Yeah. So how 2016 October? So your mom was still
Yes.
How did she? And I'm curious because she was a judge. She went through a lot. Yeah. How did she feel about that? What was her response or her advice or how was that? Because you had just gotten married. Right. In a way, you had followed the track. Right. You had done the right thing. You have a good job. Get a good husband. Right. And here now you want to go shift things up.
Because the next step was supposed to be
baby.
Have children.
Exactly. It's like that's the track.
I'm trying to go and tell a friend.
Right. Like, is that your baby? What is this?
It was just my first baby.
That's essentially what That's essentially what it becomes.
My mom and I remember my sister also said this to me when I said it. She said they both said, I don't know how it works to start a firm because my mom never started a firm in the US. So I don't know how it works to start a firm in the US, but I know you. And whatever you set your mind to, you're gonna accomplish it. That's what I wanted to hear. Yeah. So they didn't understand what it would take to do it. Right. But they trusted that I knew how to find how to do things. Yeah.
And you will figure it out. Right, that's that trust and really just your ability to figure it out.
So that's what I wanted to hear. My mom was very supportive, and she just told me, I remember the very first time I had a client that paid me. Mm-hmm. And I called her on Facebook. I'm like, look at the check. I was so excited. She was like, you better make every dollar in that check count.
Make it work.
Make it work. So and her and I were, we work a lot together. So sometimes I'll write briefs and send to her for her to review and let me tell me what she does. So awesome. But she was very supportive, and I think that she didn't trust. She didn't know the business to trust it, but she trusted me. And that's what I did.
Yeah, that is awesome to have that sort of support from the home front. Right. So when you say to know what it takes, what's been the biggest challenge in starting your own business and having, this is 3 years in now? Yeah. What's been the biggest challenge for you?
So, a lot of lawyers, so I don't know about saying another business, I'm just going to tell you from my experience about starting a law firm. Yeah. Because a lot of lawyers and even doctors, a lot of professionals, I would say, who start businesses, forget the business aspect. Yeah. So they stick to
the service they provide and not the business of managing it. Yeah.
So I think the biggest challenge for me was realizing I needed to go out of my box.
It's a business.
And I needed to figure out the business element and how to infuse that into the law firm practice.
Got you.
And another thing that I have to say, because a lot of people don't realize this, is that if you look at a lot of immigrant law firms, there are very few of them that are big and successful.
That is true.
A lot of immigrant law firms are solo, and they're solo for 15 years, solo for 20 years, solo from today they die. So for me, that was something I did not want.
Okay.
Not because I don't think solo is successful. I think that I'm a solo. I don't think that I'm in a rush to grow. But for me, there has to be a step-by-step process. You have to brick by brick by brick, and you have to know what your vision is. Other races seem to have this thing where their law firms end up having like at least 15 paralegals or multiple lawyers, at least by the 10-year mark, right? And you figure out what are they doing. So for me, my biggest thing was, what are you doing?
Right.
I need to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I started taking the marketing class. I started paying for the marketing classes I had this accelerator class with this majority. I think I was really the only African person there.
Wow.
Most Caucasian.
Wow.
I need to know how they think.
Yeah.
I need to know how they function.
Right.
I need to know how do they see the law firm business, and you find that they see it as a business. Yeah. It is not. It's beyond the service is just part of the law firm, but it's how am I going to grow as a business?
Yeah.
And every day you have to challenge yourself. You have to scare yourself into, like, I remember my monthly goals, what they are this year. I remember when I set it as half of it last year, beginning of last year, I'm going to make half of that every month.
You're like, how? Oh my God.
But you find that when you set those goals, you adjust everything else in your
You have to be audacious. Yeah, it's the word.
To fit that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's been how I've grown.
That's fantastic. I mean, that is really essential, even not just in business. It's like when you push yourself to have audacious personal goals or dreams, the dreams have to be big enough to scare you because ultimately you will stretch and rise to the occasion. But sometimes we try to kind of keep ourselves in little boxes.
Into what we think that we can attain.
What's safe.
But you know, you never know what you can attain until you actually try to attain it. Right. You know, so.
Right. And everyone, I think something else that's important is everyone's dream, ability to dream big is not the same, right? It's this thing where, but it's teachable, it's coachable, and people can learn to go bigger if they choose to. Right. Something else I wanted to touch on when you talk about the immigrants, and really, I think sometimes we Africans, it's worse, and that's more the ability to partner. Okay. The ability to partner, to work together. I mean, we live in Houston, so I can reference Bel Air and Bissonnette, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? I feel like some other cultures, Asian, Indians, whatever, do look for opportunities to partner more often.
Look at Chinatown.
Right. But I feel like they seek out opportunities to partner more often than we do. I think a lot of times, and you can tell me from your experience of it, but a lot of times we're competitive, or we just don't feel like, we always think the other person is not going to give us the same benefit, so we don't necessarily want to sacrifice and invest in other people. Right. But I see in the future that it's more beneficial. For us to figure out a way to work together. Right. So is that part of, as you think about your business, is that something you think about? Like, how do I collaborate with other people within my community? How do I reach out to actually build something that's bigger than even I can dream alone? Right. Is that something you find yourself or colleagues or people kind of thinking about? Is there a certain consciousness around that? Yeah, so I think, my experience with that was when I first was trying to start this practice, and I remember the first Nigerian lawyer I talked to, he told me not to do it. He told you not to do it? Right. He said that there are too many immigration lawyers in Houston. Oh, wow. Okay. Was he an immigration lawyer then? Okay. He was family lawyer. He's a family lawyer. Okay. So he was like, too many immigration lawyers in Houston, that he wished that he had my job, and so that I needed to stay with my job. Wow. Right. So how long had he been in practice? Oh, he's been at least at the time at least 10 years. Okay. At the time. So that's probably that inability to see it as a business. Right. Exactly. Yeah. So he's like, at least you have a short paycheck. You have this big firm job, it's a dream job. You have to stick there. And so I appreciate the fact that when I talk to people like Uzo Mukolo, who said she was basically going to be like 5 minutes from, I mean, she still is 5 minutes from my office. She was literally going to be 5 minutes from where I was going to be, but she didn't
think that I was going to be a competition to her. So everybody has their own client base. Everybody has
it's a different mindset.
It's a different mindset.
Yeah.
So I find that very rare. In the young professional community where everybody thinks they're a competition.
Right.
Like if you're I can't help you because you're gonna take all my clients. That's not true. Everybody's different.
So there are enough people in the world.
There's enough people in the world. Even in Houston alone,
there are enough people within the city.
So it's like so for example, you can sit down with Uzo and sit down with me and person A might like Uzo, person A might like person B might like me. So it's like there's enough business to go around. So I think that it's very important. I think that it's very important that we kind of stick together. Where we kind of rub minds. I have a lot of colleagues who I can call and say, hey,
community,
hey, you know about this? Have you done this? I just think, well, I did that last week. I can tell you about how to do it, and I can send you a sample. I can, and I think that we grow better that way because we're looking out for each other.
And you're sharing knowledge.
Yes, exactly.
You're sharing knowledge, ideas, and everyone's coming together. That is really great. So now I'll go back to the first baby. Because you're married, and of course in our culture it's marriage, babies, and everything else. Was that a challenge trying to talk to your husband about, hey, I'm gonna choose my business right now versus what we should do? Did you feel any pressure from anyone? Okay. So I was like, I don't want to make it like, oh yes, you absolutely did feel pressure, but did you feel that sense? And what part of it was self-inflicted versus society or family or anything else?
I've always been I always know what I want. So my husband and I were married pretty young. I think we were both 26 or 27 when we were married. So we were pretty young. So we had that luxury. So I was lucky to have a husband who he really wasn't in a rush to have kids. So because we had been long distance dating, and so he really wanted us to get together, take time to know each other. So I was lucky in that end. I think that his concern was less about the family and more about like how we're gonna make this work, But so having said that, I felt the pressure of and it's sometimes unspoken. A lot of pressure is unspoken where you have this aunties that look at you. Okay, you said you're firm. Okay. So
how long will you be doing that?
Are you going to have a baby while you're in the firm, or how that well? If you thought about maybe you should start the firm and then you have a baby.
Or have a baby. Right. Have a baby and then when they're 5, why are you doing this to yourself?
Now? Why? So I had an auntie who asked me, so you were married and all this, you were there for 5 years, and all those 5 years you did not think you started a firm, and now you're married. So I had that, but my biggest gift, I think that was the fact that my husband didn't give me that, so it wasn't internal. My brother-in-law was also an angel, really, about that, and it's very rare. Even though other people were calling her like, have you talked to your daughter-in-law? I see her everywhere. In her skirt and heels, just up and down this Houston, everywhere.
She's the only barrister.
She's the only barrister.
She's the only one in Houston.
She's the only one in Houston. What does she have to come here and say she wants to,
Right.
So I know that. So she really, was an angel, and I always love her for that. And my mom too, being a career woman herself, she understood that. And so the pressure was not internal. It really was from people who I could dismiss. So I think that was okay. And then there are a lot of things that happened in my personal life that that's I would say added to the delay. So I told you my father-in-law passed, and then my mom passed, and it was just a lot during those few years. And so I would tell you I'm actually pregnant now.
Oh my god! Okay. Congratulations!
Thank you.
Okay, sorry, forget the camera. All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. We can have some composure.
It worked out. So I went to on camera. I was like, get your reaction.
I know. Well, this is gonna air in a few months, so by then it's gonna be everywhere. See how I'm louder? Oh my god!
Okay.
All right.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Woo! Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. So now, is there a part of you that's a little nervous about how that will change your business?
A little bit, but I think that this was perfect timing for me. 3 years in, I think I've established the firm. I think my husband and I, having dealt with his loss and having dealt with my loss, when my son's in a better place to love and to appreciate new life. And I think it's perfect timing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And part of it too, even just thinking of it as a business, is putting the right processes and the right things in place, right? it's funny. I'm going to talk about this. It's probably not related, but when I was parking my car downstairs to come meet with you, I noticed that they had a little daycare center, and I was like, man, that's so fantastic to be in an office building where there's literally a daycare on site, so you can manage your life and still accommodate the home life. Because a lot of times that's where it gets challenging, trying to keep that and make sure you're present with your child and still keep your first baby, you know, alive and thriving. Yeah. So that's fantastic. Congratulations. I'm going to catch my breath. That's awesome. That is awesome.
So I'm going to talk about the process part, right? Yeah. So that's part of running a business.
Yeah.
So a lot of times lawyers think, okay, so the consequence of the service, right? Yeah. Of nothing about the business side is that you're being stretched thin because you don't have things in place. So everything about the firm has to be about you. I remember what my marketing class that I took, and I was telling you earlier about, that was so eye-opening for me. I think that was, after I took the marketing class, within 2 months, I doubled my monthly revenue. Wow. That was because I told you that I need to know how other people are thinking. Right. And for me, one of the things that they said there was your firm cannot revolve around you. Yeah. So you can be the face of it. Yeah. You can still be involved in every single aspect of it, but it doesn't have to revolve around you. So you have to put things in place whereby your staff can function without having to
call you and be available for everything.
So one of the, an example is, for example, we know what a majority of our cases are, what the most popular type of our cases are. So for those cases, we have workflows that are
you put in place
on our case management software. So when my staff logs in every morning, they just see the task laid there, and every week I go and review the tasks and make sure that everything's in place, that all the cases, everything that's supposed to be done this week is in place, so that I don't have to, I don't call them and say, hey, Rebecca, have you done this? No. It's like, it's all there. Yeah. The only thing I have to do is, if I look and I think this is priority, I just have to mention to her, this is priority. Just do that first. So I think that if you're thinking about a business, you have to put systems in place whereby, and this is 2020. There's so many systems out there that can
you have options. It's just you have to take the initiative to go plan for that.
Right. So it's a lot of my practice is system based. Where the clients, I have clients all over the country, so not just in Houston, right? So we can communicate electronically wherever I am. I have my systems on my phone, so so it's not so burdening. So going back to the impact of that on my personal life, I think that with this baby, even when I'm on maternity leave, I to be able to function fully at home.
At home, and because you have those processes, things will naturally flow as they're supposed to. That's fantastic. That's awesome. So we'll just move into, I guess, when being woman and being Nigerian in our culture, and sometimes there is a certain impression that women should, I don't say fall in line, but your man is leading and everything is going. Do you sometimes find being an entrepreneur in marriage, do you see any sort of challenges when, let's say, something is happening and there's pressure and you have to go focus on that? First of all, I think that would also reference if you have a traditional marriage where you have to do the cooking and the providing and the cleaning. Is that something that you find yourself balancing?
So, my mom, again, was, very big in her career before she passed. The time she passed, she was Nigeria's rep on the UN and the UN committee. So she was pretty big in her career, and I think I watched her a lot. But I don't think she realized how much I really watched her. So I realized that my mom was turning the world over with kids. Yeah. But I never felt like she was not there.
Especially with 7 children. Right. I mean, to be able to, because sometimes I think sometimes some women, maybe in that generation more than ours now, kind of limit how much they were able to go for because there was this responsibility that the children were your wealth, the children were your purpose, the children were everything. So they diverted a lot of attention to raising children. Of course, what would happen, you raise the kids, they leave.
And then when they leave, you feel empty.
And then you're empty. So so it's really awesome to see someone from 25, 30 years ago establish that kind of life and say, I'm going to go for the moon, forget this.
And what was inspiring is that my parents were actually friends. Yeah. So my mom's NGO, which started, my dad was the chairperson of her executive board. Yeah. But it's, for me, I saw the way they talk business, I saw the way they talk personal, and he inspired her, and he wanted her to be big. I think that a lot of the foundation actually of her stardom was my dad, and he continued to push her, and I think having seen the way she balanced things, like I just saw that you can be everything. You can be kind, you can be pretty, you can be stylish, and you have to be smart. So you don't have to choose to be smart.
It's not one or the other.
It's not one or the other. So I saw that balance, and I think that's what I was looking for in a husband. So I wasn't gonna, if I was dating and a man said, well, I just want, I turned out like I can't even tell you.
Right. I feel like, wait, there's a plan here.
Right.
You can't come in.
I remember one time, on a date, a man said, you seem you have a lot of opinions.
Oh, right, great.
And I said, well, you won't be seeing me again.
That's one opinion.
That's one opinion.
I don't want there shouldn't be any more dates with you.
That's that. So and so I was the husband who kind of understood that.
Okay.
But my mom always told me, you can balance it. So you have to always catch yourself.
Right.
Sometimes, as professional women, we just want to come in and be like, but
which
when
is
I'm
not
home,
necessary.
Which is necessary. When I'm home, I do try to mellow. So I have, at work, I have, I'm softer at home.
Right.
And
that is the balance you saw from your mother too. It's the ability to know that not everything
is the same.
Right.
So my marriage is not traditional because my husband can't cook.
He can't?
No,
he cannot.
But he doesn't expect me to cook every day.
Okay.
So some weekends I'll cook, for enough to last a week.
Yeah.
And if I'm too tired, he will eat out.
Right. That works because a lot of, so that's also something. Sometimes our men are not taught or encouraged to cook the way women are.
Right.
And then there are some people who go into the marriage relationship expecting that because my mother cooked all the time, therefore you shall cook. I remember some people say, well, I need fresh soup. I remember someone saying that.
Every day.
You need fresh soup every day. And there are women who are like, I want to take care of him, so I'll just make the base, and then every day after work I'll come back and I'll do. And I'm just like, oh God, I'm so tired just listening. But it's very different.
I had a conversation with the girl once, the woman once, young woman, who told me that because she wants to serve her man, if he's traveling in business, she would cook the food. But she has to wait up so that she can see, even if he flies at midnight, coming at midnight, she cook the food and wait so that she can actually serve it to him.
Oh wow.
No here.
Yeah.
I can't fathom it.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So even though my husband doesn't cook, because he cannot. So that one I fault
the mothers. There are lots of things that you see now. I mean, so when you have your kids, you're like, wait,
exactly.
This is the mom could have fixed it. You could have fixed it.
Yeah,
and you did it.
Even my mom recognized that because later on she would become a women's rights activist. So later on she's telling us like, I wish I trained my sons better because there's nothing wrong with a boy watching you cook. Nothing wrong with that. So now with my husband, I guess if I cook, I can make him wash plates.
Right.
Or make him vacuum while I cook.
Or maybe I'll make him just encourage like, hey, my mother isn't making like, hey, you, this is your part. But that partnership. That partnership.
I mean, when I say make him, I literally just mean like, hey, I'm about to cook.
No,
can you please help me?
Right, no, I got you. That either way, so even as you say, can you help me there? So that's which could be a totally different conversation. Because that thing's like, you're not helping me. We live in this house.
I know.
It's not like, oh, can you help me wash this? I just cooked for 2 hours.
It's like those men that babysit their children.
Right. Oh no, I'm helping her watch the kids. What is this? You're not helping me anything. This is us together.
Right.
But it's also language and society and context because the idea is that the woman is essentially you're supposed to carry everything and juggle it because you're a nice, clown, and this is fantastic.
And I think the key there, just to surround that, I think the key that is also marrying somebody that understands you as well, because a lot of people just marry think that things are going to fix themselves in marriage.
Yeah.
But I think for me it was very big, that my husband knew me before he married me. I'm a cat.
Yeah, well, you have a strong personality, and that's not a bad thing, right? But it's just that transparency.
That's transparency, where like this is what you're getting yourself into. This is what I'm getting myself into. So it's like we're going to work together to make this, and this is where the first years when we were just the two of us worked out because we were able to learn each other, see how we still learn every day. So I think process, if he could cook, he would be cooking. But I think it was a partnership. So he knows that I work, he works. It's not like only he works and I'm home every day.
And making food.
Right, making food. So
and babies.
Right, I'm babies. So if I'm tired, he knows I'm tired. So I don't. There's no such thing as fresh soup.
No, that's awesome. That is an awesome partnership. Quick touch point. Do you feel like our society still has a lot of pressure on women and marriage?
I think so.
Yeah.
I
think so. Think that's dissipated a little bit? No. Do you think it's us, women? Do you think we do it to ourselves? Especially African women. I'm not gonna. Well, I will speak for Nigerian, especially for Nigerian women. Do you feel like we do that to ourselves, or is it really societal pressure in 2020?
I really think that it comes from above. The generation above us. So it depends on what kind of woman you are. I find a lot of women who kind of form their man of their own, no matter what their moms put in their ears. They're able to say, this is what I want.
Right.
And it's what I, this is what I, but a lot of times we live in fear of what our aunts are going to say.
And what someone's going to say.
What
people.
What people.
There are these people. There's this general people that we're always so afraid of what they're going to say.
So I think the people who are able, the women who are able to break that barrier, and the women who are able to understand it, doesn't matter what people say.
Right. And people will always talk. People so always it doesn't even matter what you do. They always have
you and your husband are good. Even if your husband Mary said they're going to have kids for 10, that's your marriage.
Yeah.
Not anybody else's.
Right.
So I think that's, those who have that pressure, people who actually worry about others, or who listen to all these little things.
Feedback. Unnecessary, unrequested feedback.
So that doesn't add value to your life.
Right.
So.
Yeah. No, thank you. That's on that point. I think that's a good place for us to kind of, wrap up. But before we go, people watching, where can they find you? Because of course you have a business. So where can they find you on social media?
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram at Ral Obioha Law. My Facebook page is also Ral Obioha Law. And my website is also Ral Obioha Law.
Ral Obioha Law, that's right.
So everywhere you look Ral Obioha Law, you're going to find me. Even on Twitter.
Right. Awesome. Also, sometimes before I wrap up, I kind of give my guests the option to ask me a question if they want to, because, I am here asking you all kinds of questions and you don't really. So if you want to, there's no pressure. You can ask me a question.
So I'm going to put that question back at you about like the pressure of being a career woman and being a wife and a mother. Because I know that you have, I think you had them pretty, early in your marriage, right?
Yes.
So how did that work out for you?
There are 2 kids. Wow. Okay. Yeah. You're the first one to ask me a really personal question. The pressure of managing everything we're supposed to manage. I will say it's exhausting. It's absolutely exhausting. And I think especially for me, and I will state that. So being an only child, I wasn't quite used to kids, right? There's no one having kids around. So I had cousins, but they would come hang out. I might take care of them one day, and then they go home. And I was also somehow in my 20s, I never really cared about marriage.
Okay.
I mean, I can vocalize that now, but I remember my mother knew for sure. I'm like, don't talk to me about marriage. Don't talk to me about, no. I want to travel the world. I want to do all these fun, creative things. I still want a house in Florence. I just had this idea of just hopping country and lounging and meeting people.
Right.
The marriage and kids never fit in.
Right.
And it's funny, when I got married, a few of my friends are like, dude, what happened? Like, what?
How old were you when you got married?
I was 31.
You're 31, okay.
I was 31. Yeah, I was 31 when I got married. And I really, it's like this phase of life where it's not like I switched personalities, but it was just something that just, maybe it was, maybe it was the pressure of 30, I don't know, but somehow it became, okay, great, I can do this.
Right.
And then pretty quickly after, the kids came, and I can say that was probably, and also I had very rough pregnancies. I don't think we ever talked about this. So I think, with each kid, I was on bed rest for about 4 months. Yeah, with each child, and I had 2. And I had 2 back to back. So in a matter of 20 months, I was in bed for about 7 to 8 months.
Wow.
In like 24 months.
So you didn't work?
The first time I could work, my job was great, like awesome enough I could work from home.
Okay.
The second time around I couldn't.